Indian Constitution is the supreme law of our land. It was adopted on 26th November 1949. Therefore, this day marks a very precious day for all Indian citizens to celebrate it annually. Earlier, November 26th used to be celebrated as Law Day, but from the recent past, we have begun to celebrate it as the Constitutional Day. Celebration of Constitutional Day year after year means a lot to us for two mighty reasons. Firstly, it reminds us that India ceased to be a colony and is now enjoying the dignity of being an independent state. Secondly, it points out the inbuilt strength of our Constitution to be able to hold on to its supreme importance till today, irrespective of ensuing challenges and changing perceptions and needs of our dynamic society. Our constitution is often hailed as a living document of great worth. Indeed, it's a great document because it is outcome of a most committed effort of its drafters in order to bring out an enduring constitution of great spirit and substance. Constituent Assembly was the forum in which our constitution was formulated and adopted. The assembly was established in 1946 for preparing the constitution in order to facilitate the appropriate transfer of sovereign power from British authorities to independent India. A galaxy of wise men and conscientious individuals have thoroughly discussed and debated prior to the final adoption of our constitution. Sri B.N. Rao, who was appointed as the constitutional advisor of the assembly, was instrumental in bringing out the initial draft of our constitution. Thereafter, under the visionary leadership of Bharat Ratna, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, the draft of constitution is further refined through elaboration and incorporation of many changes that were agreed upon after intense deliberations. Other learned jurist members of the committee who lent their wisdom in the process of constitution making were Alladi Krishnaswamy Iyer, N. Gopalaswamy, K. M. Munshi, Muhammad Sadullah, B. L. Mittal, who was later replaced by Madhav Rao, and D. P. Khair. Out of a total of 165 sittings of the Constituent Assembly, 114 sittings were spent only on debating the draft constitution. Altogether, the making of our constitution underwent a prolonged labor of 2 years, 11 months, and 18 days. This illustrates the great investment of the time and efforts of wise minds and noble souls of the makers of our constitution in order to bring out a robust constitution for serving the people of India. Indian constitution has the uniqueness of being the lengthiest written constitution available in the entire world. At the time of its adoption, it contained 395 articles, 8 schedules, and 22 parts. Since then, our constitution has been amended whenever necessary. Now it contains 448 articles, 25 parts, and 12 schedules. It is unique not just for its size. It is also unique for its content because our constitution is built upon the best features picked up from many foreign constitutions. For example, the feature of parliamentary democracy from Britain, the ideal of directive principles of state policy from Ireland, the ideology of fundamental rights and judicial review from USA, the concept of federalism with strong center from Canada, the notion of liberty, equality, and fraternity from France, the German policy of restrictions on fundamental rights in case of emergency, and fundamental duties from USSR are some of the features of foreign constitutions that are incorporated into our constitution. For this reason, many criticize that our constitution is a baggage of borrowed ideas. But one must understand that the exercise of conscientious selection of best features with a great vision to long serve the best interests of India cannot be equated with a frivolous exercise of mindless copying of foreign constitutions which would not have withstood the tests of time. Indian constitution stands on the concept of constitutional supremacy. Therefore, it has become our supreme law of the land. It laid down the structure of the government, fundamental political principles, procedures, rights, powers, and duties of the government. In view of the constitutional supremacy, all institutions and laws must operate in accordance with constitutional prescriptions. The constitutional scheme of separation of powers between the three wings of the government, namely legislature, executive, and judiciary, has the caliber to avoid unhealthy institutional struggle for relative supremacy. Most importantly, the judiciary enjoys independence in the Indian constitutional scheme. It is this feature which strengthened the judiciary to become an effective guardian of our constitutional goals and values. It also helped in streamlining the erratic governance in many ways. Our constitution has characterized India to be a sovereign, socialist, secular, and democratic republic, assuring its citizens of justice, equality, and liberty, and endeavoring to promote fraternity among them. The Constitution also provides persuasive guidance to the state for enhancing its good governance. This guidance is given in the form of directive principles of state policy, which are contained in Part 4 of the Constitution. These principles are an avenue for achieving social justice. Though they are not enforceable for reasons of practical limitations, they carry great influential value for doing better. In fact, this is proved in the working of our Constitution. Another salient feature of our Constitution is that it is both rigid as well as flexible in its character. It is rigid because there are some parts of the Constitution which are extremely difficult to be amended. They require a support of 2/3 majority of the Parliament and also the support from not less than one half of the state legislatures. At the same time, the Constitution is flexible because some parts of it can be amended only by a simple majority in the Parliament. This mixed character allowed our Constitution to remain intact in its fundamental features, whereas it could also transform itself whenever necessary to meet the changing requirements. So far as the people are concerned, Part 3 of Indian Constitution guarantees them the enjoyment of their fundamental rights and freedoms. Fundamental rights are very crucial for the survival and development of individuals with a sense of dignity. They are the basic rights which every Indian citizen wishes to enjoy, irrespective of their caste, creed, religion, place of birth, race, color, gender, etc. Part 3 of Indian Constitution secures various fundamental rights such as right to equality, right to life and liberty, freedoms concerning expression, religion, cultural and educational rights, and rights against exploitation. Very importantly, the right to get constitutional remedies in case of any violation of fundamental rights is itself recognized as a distinct fundamental right. The constitutionally assured judicial independence is immensely helping the people of India to enjoy the fruits of dynamic and meaningful interpretation of their fundamental rights by the Indian judiciary. In this process, people have even begun to enjoy newer fundamental rights of contemporary importance, such as the right to information, right to environmental protection, right to privacy, etc., though they are not expressly included in the Indian Constitution. Fundamental rights under Indian Constitution are subject to reasonable restrictions. Reasonable restrictions contributes towards an approach of balancing the individual interests against the social interests. Barring few disappointments, the judicial review in India is helping out the Constitution to retain its supremacy and allowing the people of India to enjoy their constitutionally guaranteed rights. A most significant feature of our Constitution, which deserves a special emphasis, is the ideology of fundamental duties. When the Constitution was adopted in the year 1949, it did not contain any provision on fundamental duties. They have been introduced in the year 1976 through 42nd Amendment of the Constitution, which is more than 2 decades after our Constitution has entered into force in India. The concept of fundamental duties was taken from the Constitution of USSR. Introduction of fundamental duties into our constitution is a strong reminder to the people of India that while they are quite enthusiastic about the enjoyment of their fundamental rights, they should also be mindful of the fundamental duties they owe to the nation. In fact, the notion of duty is not unfamiliar to Indian culture. The civil behavior of the people of ancient India essentially centered on the ideology of duties rather than that of rights. Seen from that angle, introduction of fundamental duties into our constitution is nothing but a reintroduction of our national ethos through formal writing. Such a formal introduction helps to make duties explicit and allow them a high appeal by virtue of their constitutional standing. It is a necessary exercise because in modern times there is overemphasis on individual liberties with no focus on responsibilities which are useful for collective good. There are a total of 11 fundamental duties. They are: firstly, every citizen has to abide by the Constitution and respect its ideals and institutions. He should respect the national flag and the national anthem. The importance of this duty is self explanatory. When people ignore the ideas and ideals of our supreme law of the land, the destiny of the country would be anything but digressive. National flag and national anthem are the symbols of our hard-earned independence. Disrespecting them tantamounts to disrespecting our own existence. Secondly, it is the duty of every Indian to cherish and follow the noble ideals which inspired the national struggle for freedom. No citizen can ignore this duty if at all he understands that he is enjoying anything but the fruits of hard fought freedom struggles based on such lofty ideas as right to self determination and non violence. Third is the duty to uphold and protect the sovereignty, unity, and integrity of India. Obviously, our independence loses its meaning if the citizens neglect the need to safeguard the sovereignty and the unity and integrity of their nation. Fourth duty mandates the citizens to defend the country and render national services whenever called upon to do so. Fifth responsibility is promotion of harmony and the spirit of common brotherhood amongst all the people of India, transcending religious, linguistic, and regional or other sectional diversities, and to renounce practices derogatory to the dignity of women. This duty has a special significance to contemporary India, which is developing micro-divisive mindset and also witnessing an increasing violent conduct towards women. Sixth duty of importance is to value and preserve the rich heritage of our composite culture. India enjoys a unique distinction for being an abode of diverse culture. It is a matter of great national pride to us. This duty carries an implied responsibility for cultural harmony and tolerance. Ancient India maintained great reverence towards nature, in which process its people valued the nature in the right way. But the new India, like many other modern states, has lost its harmony with nature. Keeping this in mind, seventh fundamental duty casts a duty on Indians to protect and improve the natural environment, including forests, lakes, rivers, and wildlife, and also to have compassion for living creatures. Eighth duty expects Indian citizens to develop the scientific temper, humanism, and the spirit of inquiry and reform. This is another vital duty in the contemporary era with a dominating presence of scientific endeavors. This duty necessitates the spirit of humanism not to be lost in the reforms based upon the development of scientific temper and inquiry. Ninth duty requires the safeguarding of public property and to abjure violence. Tenth duty calls on the citizens to strive towards excellence in all spheres of individual and collective activity so that the nation constantly raises to higher levels of endeavor and achievement. This duty obviously reflects the constitutional hope on its people in building up India as a land of achievements. The 11th and latest fundamental duty added in 2002 requires every parent and guardian to provide opportunities for education to the children or wards between the age of 6 and 14 years. An overall evaluation of our Constitution reveals that it is an embodiment of lofty goals and precious values. It has an immeasurable scope to transform India to be a model state. But for this to happen, what is most needed is a genuine political will and responsible public commitment to our constitutional vision and mission. It is high time for every individual to realize that Constitution does not work unless its people work it out.